Uh, well, I'm involved with trash and treasures.
Yeah, okay.
I'm can't do anything. After that, you know,
Is that, this building is a trash or treasure?
no, you need to enter it and see that's the problem.
Is
but-
this building trash, right?
Yeah, this building is trash. It's not like trash.
Okay, so that would be, what would be the end of that period of 2 weeks for you? About,
They,
just
there's,
so I have it on here.
the trash to treasures is, at the actual sale is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Monday is cleanup, which is the 8th, so
8?
it's the 8th.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, so I'll put
But
July
I'm
8th.
working practically that whole week because I oversee one of the departments and then the next week we're cleaning up.
I'll see you out there. I don't know.
Wow. Did he try to, oh my goodness.
Do you need help?
These were-
Oh.
these were the-
Yeah.
I noticed the camera's coming at an angle. I wonder if we should just.
Oh, there's Mark. Wait a minute.
Maybe we should turn this so they can see our faces. What do you think? Because they're
This,
looking at the,
this automatically follows the voice.
okay, but, okay.
Is it a camera?
Yeah.
Mark can't see any of us.
Mark, are you there? Can
Yeah,
you
no, I
hear?
can see.
Oh, you can see us?
Okay.
Okay.
We don't know what you can see, so.
And Santos is joining us. on
Is
this.
that Santos? Yep, there's Santos.
Mark, what do you see? Do you see a room full of people or do you see yourself?
I see the side of Bill's head.
Yeah.
So that's why I thought maybe if we turn this, oh, yeah, turn that.
Just move it this way.
You better touch that.
Move it to the end of the table so that it looks like he's at the end.
There you go. Oh, good. We can get it.
It's at a,
Why is it
We can
moving?
do it.
because that leg went down.
Oh, yeah, the leg went down.
Yeah, pull that leg up.
Now what do you see?
Are we at an angle?
Yeah, now I have, it's let's see, it's 3 different boxes. Focus, yeah. I mean, this is fine. I
Just go on with your.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't see Alex circling,
I
so,
don't see him either,
okay,
but you would have it before. So
okay,
we could go ahead.
all right. Let's call this to order. Shall we say a quick pledge of allegiance?
Yeah, sure.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everybody. It appears that all are present with the exception of Alex so far. Allison and I had a little difficulty with our internet service this week, and so we apologize for the minutes not being out a little bit sooner, but has everyone taken a look at last meeting's minutes?
I did what it was. I didn't bring any of the with you. I didn't bring it off, so. That's okay, I don't need it.
You don't have to keep mine, inserts in red.
I forgot to change that.
We collaborate.
Well, that's good. I had, look good to me.
Okay.
So I make a motion to approve the minutes as.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay. Mark, can you hear us?
yes, I can.
Okay, great. Okay, and now we have the agenda for today.
He went that way and then the guy came back.
I'd like to add, if there's any announcements, that we put those in, filter off.
Okay,
Just add those if there's anything.
Yeah, that's his phone
Do you
number.
have a
Yeah.
particular announcement in mind for today?
I do not have one, but others might, so there's
Okay.
something going on in the village or the resort that is relevant to us.
Bill, how about you?
No, the things we were discussing earlier would be, we would do an announcements around.
Okay,
So there's probably a lot of things that I could mention, but we don't need to mention them now in this.
Okay.
in other meetings.
I wonder, it'll be a little quieter in here if I close that door?
I'll close that. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Dennis.
How are you?
I'm good.
Are you on roads?
It's a thrill finding you all.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we try to hide.
I'm Jackie Boyd. I'm on the Planning and Zoning Commission, and at the meeting last week, we kind of talked about seeing what the committees are doing and what kind of implications there might be for planning and zoning.
Okay,
So,
We need, that just reminds me, Jackie, we need to get, and Santos is here, so we really, and Santos, could you get the planning and zoning committee a copy of this comprehensive plan that we're working on? Or at least those who might want it? It's
All of them have requested it, and so I'm going to make hard copies like I did for your committee.
Okay, okay, thank you.
oh, I've got it.
you have a piece of paper that goes with it? Yeah, okay, awesome.
Because this is tied in with planning and zoning.
Absolutely.
And Santos is running everything, so he's involved in it.
So Jackie, you probably can see who's on the screen, but,
Yeah.
I'm Allison Woodall.
Okay.
Nice to meet you, and
Attila Valenti.
Okay. Your name?
And Mary Ann McDonald.
Very good.
And you know me.
I figured that was, didn't need introductions there.
Do you know Mr. Manley on the
Yes.
screen? Okay, great. Okay, I'm gonna just say briefly, this kind of is an announcement. We only have the room for about an hour today. When I picked this time, I was not aware that there was another meeting following at 10. So we're gonna try to stick to the agenda. And if we have any time at the end of getting through our agenda in our comments and discussions, we could kind of pick that up there. Does that sound good to everybody? Okay. All right, so this last Tuesday, I met with Bill and Santos. And we kind of talked about a little bit more about our mission. We have a big advantage, I think, in putting the 2025 plan together over and above what they had in 08, because this community has put together a whole list of subcommittees that are studying a lot of the interests of the community in more detail. And so I've tried to incorporate some of the things I learned this week into this mission statement. It's a little bit longer than the one I had last week because I've learned a little bit more. But basically, I think that this 2025 plan would follow these kind of 4 steps, and that our job is to make these happen. So we're going to assess the community's existing conditions. We're going to present some focused proposals for community development, and by tapping into our community action committees and the governing staff. And then we're going to provide a report that has a schedule for implementation over a 10-year period. So I'm kind of putting that out there, and anybody have comments, additions, corrections?
So yes, I saw my name on this thing yesterday, so I kind of thought about it early this morning and pulled up definition of the mission statement. It's a brief, broad statement about an organization's goals and how it intends to meet those goals. It often addresses what the organization offers and how it hopes to serve its customers, community, employees, or other stakeholders. Some missions may also include explanations of the principles that the organization values, hopes to abide by throughout its existence. So from that point, that's almost where I came up with the last thing, thinking about how we want to state we are representing community interests, community stakeholders. So we want to make sure we hear from all these different groups. We want to make sure that the resort has a voice, and if the county needs a voice, or the planning organization nearby has a voice, they all are included in that. And also think about the mayor's goals towards transparency that he's often mentioned, and how do we maybe include them with transparency in the mission. So those two things popped out at me as things we want to include in the statement.
So what I might suggest would be ensure the plan. You know, the committee is going to ensure that the plan represents community's interests. And then go from there with the transparency. How would you add to that?
So I rewrote a little bit. I said the Angel Fire 2025 Plans Committee, represented by community stakeholders, will prepare an update to the 2008 comprehensive plan, including an assessment. And then two, instead of a presentation, at this point, it should be identification of focus proposals for community development. Because we should be done presenting by then. Now we're just, here's through all our process and working with council, working with the stakeholders, we've identified these focus proposals. And the other two were left alone.
Okay,
So I just added that represented by community stakeholders.
okay.
Okay, so I'm not gonna type that all in right now. I'm gonna have you give it to me. And I'm just gonna say, provide some updates to the mission. Does anybody have any comments on that?
You mean to read that again, Mark? Okay,
I think that sounds great.
Yeah, I wanted something more, you know, kind of general, like saying that we're gonna update the plan. And do,
and the methodology doesn't have to be in there, like if we're gonna use consultant, I don't think that's
no,
not important.
I'm just thinking of,
You can wordsmith more if you want.
no, I'm just thinking of. For me, I looked at it in terms of consolidating and making it more consistent with an overall look at what the community, the village's kind of mission is, and that they have these pieces that they have to deal with, right? The comprehensive plan is supposed to cover whatever the village covers, right? And we don't want to leave anything out or add stuff in that is too specific. If you know what I mean, like, they had very specific sections that were about a specific item that could have fallen under something more general. And so I'm thinking, you know, when the village looks at this thing and says, you know, there's a section about water and wastewater, there's a section about this or that, the main parts of this village. I mean, is that something that should go into this mission about either being in line with village
Could.
departments
make a-
or something like
Well,
that?
can we address that number 3 here then to cover what you're talking about? Because we say, accomplish the goals set forth by the Village of Angel Fire's community action committees and governing staff. Is there something there where we can? Is that a place where we could put that?
You could just say the Village of Angel Fire. Which would kind of get to that, and their community action committees. I don't know about, and governing staff, would that cover it? Cause that way you're saying, we're gonna look at what the Village of Angel Fire, their goals are.
Okay,
Their priorities, their systems.
well, kind of flip that around and at least make it look like the governing staff is kind of, their goals are utmost with the input of the community action committees, something like that.
If I can make a.
Yeah.
comment,
Yeah,
I'm
for
not-
sure.
And I'm not a voting member, so, but I think after this committee has an opportunity to visit with the other committees, you're gonna get a better idea. And you may want to revise that.
Okay.
Put down how you want it now, and then
a good point.
you know, end of July, we may, after you've had a chance to
Mhm.
then come in and revise it.
We don't
Let's,
need to,
let's
it's just-
incorporate Attila's
Yeah,
Yes,
input.
yes.
yeah,
and we'll revisit it
Okay,
on a.
Yeah, missions can be revised.
okay. I mean, we don't have to
And one
revise the
thing
mission.
I
It's
mentioned
just-
last time is that still, there's not a vision for Angel Fire anymore. There's not really a vision. And so organizational missions come from the vision.
Uh-huh,
What do we want to be? And then, okay,
Uh-huh.
our mission is to help achieve that
yeah,
vision, and we don't have one.
right.
And
Well, they recently put together a mission.
they put a mission for staff and for council, but
Yeah.
a mission,
Oh,
a vision is. I'm reading a headline 10 years from now, says Angel Fire completes, high-speed 737 landings in the, whatever it is 10 years from now. That the vision is what the future looks like.
Okay,
Here's what we want to be in 10, 15 years. And the comprehensive plan leads you there.
Yes, yes.
And
Yeah.
all we're doing is really taking on the elephant bite that we know are issues in the community with infrastructure and water and those
Which-
things.
Yeah,
Which
I
is
don't want to
okay.
be just focused on those things. I think we need to have the whole picture.
Yeah,
That's what I'm trying, it's not important to build it right here, and then we can talk about.
I'm gonna have Dennis to make copies of this for everybody that's
That
here.
would be
These are
ideal.
all of our committees and who's on them, because
Right.
that's who we're going, with. That's who the
Coordinate.
committee needs to be working with.
okay, so we'll have a final statement,
Okay.
next time we meet.
Yep.
And we'll vote on it at that point. Allison has begun compiling the next section of, committee organization, member information, frequency, and schedule of meetings. I think that, she's got, some of the people have contributed their information. I think maybe, the two of you gentlemen, might provide us a little bit more. Sometimes a quick text message can go out about information about the committee, if you don't mind that, because my internet is intermittent this last week, and if I had to solely rely on my email, I couldn't have communicated with Allison. So it would be helpful if everybody would let Allison know a number that they might be able to receive a text message. And if you have a scheduled vacation, we will try to make our committee meetings work around people's absences. I personally think that it would be handy to pick a day of the week and a time for all of our meetings so that people can avoid scheduling other things possibly during that period of time. So I'm open for frequency. I think that maybe our next meeting should be spaced out a little bit further. We're going to be trying to talk to other committees in the community, and so we're all going to be on a fact-finding mission for a while. So I'm kind of opening that up. Anybody have a suggestion for a frequency every 2 to 3 weeks?
Every 2 weeks would be, I think.
How does everybody feel?
I like every 2 weeks, and should we retain a consultant? I think we could shift to once a month as a consultant of legwork, and would be more of a sounding board.
Okay,
consultant.
okay. Well, that's another thing we're going to talk about today. So what do you gentlemen, everybody, what does everybody feel about every 2 weeks? Good?
I will attend as I'm able. That's going to be a little aggressive for me, but I will try to pop in and out as frequently as I can.
Okay, all right. Attila, you are out for the first 2 weeks of July, correct?
Right.
Okay. So I did bring a calendar. Let me take a look here. So here we are.
What day of the week fits better with people? Is there,
How about you, Allison? I'm more open than
Mhm.
she is.
I guess, Monday afternoons are good for me. Thursday afternoon. Morning time tends to be like either pickleball, which I can't play right now, but,
It's a
hey, I haven't gotten to play in years.
Yeah. and, And then, you know, the hiking group does stuff in the mornings often, so it's better for me in the afternoons,
Afternoon works for me. How about you?
okay.
Kind of, sort of.
Either late afternoon, I'm usually hiking up on top of the mountain early afternoons.
Okay,
But that's, doesn't have to be every single time, I can shift that around.
okay.
Get off before. the-
Santos and Mark, how are your afternoons?
The tree cover up on top.
Santos, we can't hear you, you're muted.
Sorry, anytime's fine.
Okay,
Mark is the one Mark's on practically every committee,
Oh, wow.
and plus he has a full-time job with the resort.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'll do the best I can for sure. I think, the village council has kind of bopped around, and I'm not sure if we're back on a regular schedule. I don't know, Bill Santos, maybe you guys know. That's something I'm committed to attending every evening. So my only request would be if we're going to meet in the afternoon, for it to not be on a day when we have village council.
Yes.
is that usually Tuesday?
That's, village councils are usually on Tuesdays, and they're usually the second and fourth Tuesday.
No Tuesdays.
Okay, so Monday afternoon, or Monday's usually a grind for everybody working?
I can make Monday afternoons work generally.
Okay. All right, so I guess we need to pick the next one, because that's gonna be,
3 o'clock, does that sound like,
sounds okay to me.
That's not bad.
okay,
Okay, so Monday's at 3 p.m. And, while we're at it, we might as well just pick the next one.
okay.
That would maybe is, Attila, since you're kind of,
I'd leave me out if you have to, if you're gonna do the tweak schedule, we can't, we're not gonna reach everyone every single time.
so I think we should stay away from 4th of July week, so, the 8th.
Okay, or is that a bad day for you
That's
to clean up?
that could be a bad day for me, but go ahead and schedule it. I don't have to be here. I'm a liaison.
You said that's your tear down for the.
That's our cleanup day.
Yeah, Attila, didn't you say you were going to be gone the first 2 weeks of July?
Correct,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm not available on the 8th. I won't be here.
Okay, so we're
Good.
out to the 15th.
We can do that.
Okay, that's,
And I'll tell you, if we do, let's say we do the third, say, once we get through this, say, get into August, we do the 1st and 3rd. Because a lot of times, if we do it on the 2nd and 4th, the village has a work session the Monday before council meeting.
gotcha.
So if we could hit it the opposite weeks, that would be a better thing for
Okay, so we're
me
gonna,
and.
does that sound good, everybody? 1st and 3rd Mondays?
So what's that for August 1st?
Yeah, I'm not gonna be here.
Oh, no.
That's okay. I mean, it's okay.
Well,
We're going to a wedding out of town.
but you don't have to meet every.
Attila can run the meeting.
There you go.
Well,
I'm volunteering.
The first Monday in August is the 5th, and the third Monday in August is the 19th.
I'll be here the 19th, but not the 5th.
Okay. Okay, I mean, that's your all's decision, and
You can turn around. and look at it.
we're in good shape.
Be here for these meetings.
I'm gonna be out 2 weeks, and I
Yeah.
won't be here the 5th, but that's okay.
But you be here the 12th
What's the 12th? I
of
thought-
August, it's a Monday. Maybe that Wednesday? Or wait, what about this?
I'm out the 1st through the 15th,
Okay.
so I'm
okay,
sorry.
Okay, no, that's all right. That's right, you gave me that, that's right.
Well, I think we should stick to, the Monday at 3 p.m. and get consistent with that, and
I do too.
you have coverage and I have coverage, and
What about the 29th
I'll be here
of
for,
July?
oh yeah, I'll be here then.
If he's not here. Wait, why was we not, is he's gonna be out? Is that what the deal was?
The 29th of July,
Yeah,
that month has 3 Mondays, that's why that's different.
okay,
So we could do it the
let's do the
29th.
29.
Is that okay
Okay.
with everybody?
So the 15th and the 29th. That's the,
And then,
Cause that's every other week, but,
mhm,
um,
and then that would make it the 12th, which he's saying is the day that he has prep for,
the 12th of what?
of August. So would it be okay to move it to like that Wednesday afternoon?
Trash the Treasure is July, isn't it?
It's July.
Right, I know, but he's got prep for, session
Oh,
Oh,
on Mondays. So what about Wednesday, the 14th of August?
yeah, I don't think I'll be.
No.
no, just, let's keep it on Monday and.
All right.
Yeah,
You wanna move
it'll
it?
be all right. It'll be all right. I'll be able to,
All right.
I'll be able to possibly tap in. We'll see.
All right, okay, August 12th, which is not a good day for Bill.
Well, what's the first and third of August?
That would be the 5th,
5th and the,
19th.
and I'd be back the 19th.
The 5th is 1 week after our July meeting.
Okay,
So we're off.
well, okay.
Yeah. Oh. So Bill, when you do this, the prep work session, when is it?
It can be any time,
Oh, really?
but a lot of times we do have a work session on a Monday before our meeting,
Yeah,
but they're anytime. So and we never know until about a week before. But they're always in the afternoon, usually starting at 1 or 2.
May I make a suggestion?
yes,
If we go with July 15th and July 29th,
Yeah.
we'll see how everything's kind of, what we're finding out with everything, and we'll set the next one, either the 12th or what was that? The options were the, where am I?
Mhm.
The 12th or the 19th.
Okay,
I mean,
good.
I
Let's
still
move
think,
on.
I still think that everything can happen without one of us or.
All right, we just don't have very many of us, and,
I know.
yeah,
Okay. All right, the next thing we wanted to attack was this review, the overview of the existing comp plan. And hopefully everybody has gone through and figured out some things that they've noticed, that need some revision. There's gonna be a lot of updating, obviously. So, Allison has taken up some time and put together an outline, and I'll let her take it from here to tell you about it.
okay. So the general, what I was trying to accomplish here was somewhat creating a new outline based on the existing plan, but also to consolidate things into, like what I was saying earlier about what the village, how the village is organized somewhat, and into these more overarching sections and nothing that's really specific, that those specific things that might be priorities, but they would fall under a larger area or group. So you start out with table of contents, obviously, executive summary. Our executive summary last time, and I could pull up the plan, but didn't really, an executive summary is supposed to give you an idea of what it's a short version of the whole plan. Obviously you can't put everything in there, but it needs to be, so that's kind of my idea.
It's only thing a counselor might read.
Yes, exactly. I'm not trying to be rude or
No,
anything,
no,
but
you're right, it's,
people read the executive summary.
right.
So it needs to, I think, be bolstered. Anyway, that's just my ideas, and we can talk about that. So you can kind of see what I put on there, short description of each section, priorities, goals, and timelines for the plan, and it should be a condensed version of the plan. Community profile and background, that was its own section before. I think it just should have its own title and not be a section necessarily. It's just it's what you put in the agenda as far as part of the mission statement, to provide an existing condition, right?
So
And
can I
yes,
add one thing to the
Yes.
executive summary? It will be a
Yes.
resolution of the adoption of the plan.
oh,
So if someone wants to see when this got adopted by council, whoever, it's right there in front and you're not digging for it in the appendix.
yes, there's a lot of stuff in the appendices that we can talk about. Okay. All right, and then, so the next section would be the analysis of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and challenges. That's the SWOT. Actually, the challenges, anyway. And That's usually threats, but they called it the SWAT. Anyway, so this is, again, when we met the first time, I said, well, what is really our vision? What is our theme for Angel Fire? And I think Santos spoke up and he said, we are outdoor recreation, so it'd be nice to have, this analysis done, but also with some sort of focus on what is our theme. Anyway, this is an idea, that can go any place, and not necessarily under that analysis, but it is where our strength lies, I think. Then basically you say, here's the plan. Here's the plan. Here are the focus areas that we as a village feel are either important or key topics that the village works on. And it really kind of, these titles that I've got in here are really based on the old plan and can totally change, and they can be merged. The sections that I've edited is just a first cut at it. I thought, well, let's combine sustainability and natural resources. And some of the focuses in the past were on greenhouse gas reduction and green building standards. We may say, you know what, greenhouse gas reduction, we really, as a village, can't do a whole lot on this. We might have a little something about outdoor recreation vehicles. I don't know. So, these are things for us to dig into if we want to, or to work with one of the other committees on. So I moved up in blue there, the develop a comprehensive conservation plan, because that was under natural resources. So again, what I'm just trying to do is consolidate into sections that are more overarching, larger topics. So for instance, the next one had community character, and this is really important to all of us, right? Because this is something that's come up over and over again in our meetings and with people. They all say, where is our center of our village kind of thing. So I still think that fits under land use and plan development, but we can have a discussion about that. Maybe it needs to have its own section. But that is the maintain the character through complementary architecture and design, create a focal point for the community. And then the whole Mountain View Boulevard corridor design, again, I think it should probably go under land use and plan development or something to that, similar to that name. It doesn't have to be named that. And so basically we now have, we had a land use section. So now we've just moved those two under that section, which was, again, that had a consistent terminology, and it seemed like, okay, we're trying to accomplish the same thing, locate commercial and civic uses in intense pedestrian oriented center. Anyway, so on the next page, we had the Northwest Quadrant. Again, I think it should go under land use and plan development. And we can work on all the details, what fits under where. Then we have recreation open space, and this is where we get with our trails group, we get with our recreation person to work on that area. If that needs to be a section, it needs to be a section. If it needs to go under some other section, it can.
I think it deserves its own section, because that's a big part of our theme.
It is.
That you had at the beginning.
It is, if that's our theme. And then we have community services and cultural activities. Quality of life is such a, this was too general for me. Quality of life is like everything to me almost. So be more specific here. Community services and cultural activities, if that goes together. And then got rid of natural resources, transportation and roads. Roads are obviously extremely important to all of us. And then the airport, that fits under there. Economic development and tourism. Very important, probably deserves its own section. And then water and wastewater utilities. And this is where I was having a little trouble, because the main goal under water and wastewater utilities was provide a water supply and wastewater collection infrastructure that will promote efficient growth. But under, let's see, under sustainability, it was efficient use of water and wastewater. So it's like, there's these pieces that we have to decide where this goes. So just FYI, I would put that potentially under 7 and not under, but maybe those two need to go together in some way. So anyway.
I think they touched on on that because they had something called sustainability.
Yeah,
And the community won't be able to be sustained unless everybody has services.
exactly,
So they just barely touched on that,
exactly.
I'm guessing.
Yeah, and so I didn't really add anything to this. I didn't make any major changes to what was existing. I just kind of reorganized it,
Okay,
to give us something to start with.
I think that's great.
Okay,
That makes a lot of sense.
We appreciate
all right,
your efforts there because I think
Yes.
that gives us a little bit more of a direction.
yeah.
What would we probably end up adding
Mhm.
is some of these subcommittees.
Yes.
I mean, an emphasis on fire adapted community and, how lodgers tax
Yeah,
is incorporated into,
yeah,
utilities and public improvements and that sort of thing.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's what we'll do. We'll end up starting with this
Mhm.
and then incorporate where we've got some great input. from the
Yes.
community.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, we may see things that are in here that we're like, we are not gonna be doing, putting much emphasis on this, and maybe it's not a major goal or a major priority. And I mean, this is just, yeah.
Do you think public health ought to be a standalone topic or under community services?
I don't know, but that's a very important one.
Yeah.
And community services, I mean, is the village responsible for making sure we have public health?
I would recommend having public health as a standalone, just with all the discussions you've got with the clinic that can't keep staff. And that every property owner in the valley is paying into a hospital district. And that hospital district isn't providing any of these services. So it almost feels like that, as a standalone healthcare, it's not an issue just for the tourists that come by and get injured on the mountain. It's also for all the residents who live here, that it almost, maybe in 2008, it wasn't a standalone issue, but in 2024, I believe it could be a very lengthy chapter, and it should be, just because of where we are now.
It's a significant problem. We've had, was it, I'm losing track of time. It was either this week or last week, we had the hospital district
Yeah, last week.
come to Village Hall. And I will try to do a better job of getting the word out when they are meeting. Typically it's 100% online. But one of the district's members, Bruce Jasmine, was here. We had two other members that participated remotely. The rest of that board didn't bother to attend, which kind of shows you where they're at with this. It's really disappointing. As you know, you come to a major ski area, you're going to expect that there's going to be a certain level of medical care. And right now we're struggling to get to where we need to be for this winter. We've got the resort built a brand new facility at the bottom of the mountain for essentially urgent care, but it also we built it with individual rooms as well. And then we have the issue with the Moreno Valley Clinic on the west side of 434. Unfortunately, we've had the doctors that, my understanding, have been in this community for decades, both leaving practice at the same time. So we're in a pinch, and I think looking to the district to help us is going to be a waste of time. So we're going to have to try to do this, figure this out on our own. Like Santos said, everybody that lives here pays into this district. As we know, we all pay into the county as well, and the percentage of the tax base that goes to Raton, it's even greater in the district, because the district is simply southern Colfax County, and we don't have even comparable medical treatment to Springer and to Cimarron. So it's a big concern, and it's something that I think this committee, it should be one of our top priorities.
I would only add, besides agreeing with everything Mark said, is that from the village perspective, we have 3 ambulances in service, stationed in the village. And right now, we're having to respond to calls in Eagle Nest because Eagle Nest doesn't have an ambulance service. And in fact, I think Eagle Nest may have just lost its charter for ambulance service because they can't keep staff. So you couple that with what was just mentioned about the clinic staff not being able to be maintained, the clinic at the resort, that the hospital district doesn't seem that they want to be able to partner with a brand grade A facility. This should, I would recommend, be a standalone, and it's probably going to be a very lengthy chapter, as it should be. It's not just a matter of the private entities that could assist the visitors and the residents. It's also the village's capacity to provide emergency services, and we're already being stretched because we've now got to provide coverage to other villages and parts of the valley that can't even sustain it on themselves.
Yeah, we're subsidizing medical care in other parts of the county when we don't have any. It's a bad situation and it's got to get corrected.
Mark, in that meeting with the hospital district, there was talk about touring the new facility up at the mountain.
Yeah.
I think it would be good if the members of this committee could go on that tour whenever it's set up, if we could be notified, or at least those who could.
Yeah. Unfortunately, while I'm more than happy to tour anybody at any time, waiting for the district to tour we might be waiting a long time. So if any of the members of this committee would like to take a look at what we've done up there, I'm more than happy to facilitate that, to set it up. It's, if anybody doesn't know, it's right up the hill from the base of the now operational Chili Express, and right up from El Jefe. So more than happy to meet you all and to tour you around the facility.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay, yeah. All right, I think that was awesome that you added the public health factor into our outline. We'll certainly, I've also added that to the next item that we're going to talk. But before that, well, actually, I'm sorry, I'm thinking out loud. Okay, if we move on after your summary, have you completed what you wanted to talk about? Okay. The next item, we've tried to make a list of all the community plans, the community
So wait,
special
we were
interest.
talking about a workshop schedule in that too?
Well, I'm gonna let that follow this next
Okay,
section.
fair
Actually, I
enough.
think that's that's not in a good spot.
Okay,
This next list that you see in the next item is what Bill and Santos and I kind of came up with when we met earlier this week. These are what we know, and I've just added Planning and Zoning Commission and Public Health to that list. But my idea is that every member of this committee pick a couple of, maybe a few, since there's so many, of the citizens committees, or things like the recreation kind of teams with trails and, things like that. But anyway, every member on this committee is the liaison to one of these other committees. And that way, when we kind of set up workshops for working on the comp plan, maybe the committee members that are specific to one section of the comp plan would have a workshop together, so that we're not all sitting around a table talking about the whole plan at a workshop. Does that make sense? But what we need to do today is kind of assign responsibilities for being the liaison to these other.
Can I ask one thing before we go on with regard to this? So there's an infrastructure committee, and then there's a public works committee.
No, there's an
Oh.
infrastructure committee,
Okay.
and then there are people that work in public works.
Okay. I was having a hard time assigning someone to those different things, and
So I think those pair closely, obviously.
Yeah.
And, that's what I was gonna kind of volunteer for.
Okay,
Um,
sorry, I didn't mean to.
No,
Just keep going.
you're right. These
So
are
there's a mix of committees and
Oh.
staff departments in here.
correct,
And other,
and others.
there's like
Right.
external.
Well, there is, wetlands is external,
Exactly.
those are a nonprofit, I don't see AFPO represented here unless it's the. One of those things, I know, Mark, you're asking me, make sure we have AFPO and the Trails Committee. How does AFPO represent some of these other ones? Are they players in some of these other ones? So I think we need to find that out. Not at all.
Yeah, no, honestly, the only, really the only place they have a role would be, in the amenities.
Okay.
And so, obviously everybody lives in the community and is therefore a member of AFPO and has an interest in infrastructure and all those things. But for the association itself to have an official role, that would be limited to the amenities only.
Okay, so I guess I'm opening it for everyone to volunteer for their interests. And then we'll get down to the things that we'll just have to divide up that.
Yeah, and I think I'd mentioned, I serve on the fire adaptive and airport advisory committees. So I'm happy to do that.
Okay,
And just to note, there really isn't an airport advisory committee anymore. There's a transition committee that's in the process, but we haven't met. But every Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, local pilots meet at the airport and somebody is more than welcome just to show up.
Every Saturday morning?
Okay, cool.
And I might add, you clarified something there, because we've always had that advisory committee and we haven't had a village committee. Our village committee now is the airport planning committee, which Jackie is a part of.
Right.
And it
So-
is now officially a village committee.
okay.
So
What did you call it? The village air?
Planning.
it's airport planning committee.
Okay, got it. Better. Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
Attila, what looks good to you?
Trails and recreation for sure.
Okay,
We'll see what else pops up after the others volunteer. And that's mainly because I'm already the co-chair for Trails and Shay is the village rep for that committee, so.
okay,
That's
Those,
perfect. They go together. They go together really nicely.
okay.
I would do the wetlands, obviously. But within the infrastructure committee or public works or whatever it is, I would like to be somewhat involved with regard to the water and wastewater part of that.
Okay, so, okay.
I know you do too.
No, but
Do
you,
you have both?
we don't
you
have
both
the same
experience.
expertise. We don't.
Right.
So, yeah,
Okay.
I think that it's great if you'd like to join in.
So how is it broken up? I mean, is it?
Well, from what I saw, yeah, I went to an infrastructure meeting yesterday and they're putting together their capital improvement plan.
Okay.
And it touches on a lot of things that aren't just things that I have a history. I mean, they touch on, well, I didn't bring their stuff.
time check, we have 10 minutes.
So, okay, thank you.
Okay,
So,
so let's
They-
continue to, let's,
Yeah.
you and I'll talk.
yes,
Okay.
okay.
So,
So both sides on that.
so some of these things, this economic development, tourism, lodgers tax, I kind of feel like those kind of fall in together somewhat.
Maybe
I don't know.
assign him.
Well, my thought with Alex's participation is that he would be, since he's remote, he might be best placed for us for any kind of research on, say, how things are done in other places, relating to any of these topics. In other words, if you come to a point where you'd like to reach out to, say, some community in Colorado, how did they attack this problem? Because he's remote and will have a hard time communicating directly here, I think he ought to be our research guy. He ought to be the guy to look, I mean, I'm all about don't reinvent the wheel. If someone else, if some other community has faced these same challenges, that we contact them and see what they did. And so any one of us working on this, if we come up to something like, hey, we'd like to see how they did this in Colorado Springs, or we call Alex and say, Alex, I've got this thing I'd like you to help me with. What do you think, guys? Does that sound like? I like it. Okay, so we still have other things we need to attack here.
Mhm.
Mark, can we put you down for public health? It's not on the list. I penciled it in today after our discussion.
No, sorry, my mute button was hiding. Yeah, sure.
We're finding, public health is gonna fall under which area now?
It's gonna be a sample topic.
The standalone.
Yeah. Okay, extension.
Yeah, I added it to the bottom of the list.
Okay, so how,
I'll take night sky on too.
Yeah, well, oh, I was gonna do that.
Okay, then you got it.
Okay, I've already been on that. I've met
Okay,
with them
okay.
multiple times, but, yeah, so I know them. And what they've been doing. I'm actually, I have access to their ones.
okay,
So I don't know.
Santos should planning and zoning, obviously.
Yeah, I put him in. Automatically.
I kind of feel like Santos, you'd be great with tourism and economic development as well.
That's fine. I don't mind helping on the land use chapter either.
I'm sorry, on the what?
Use.
The land use.
So the Planning and Zoning Commission is you're on that, correct?
Yeah, he runs it.
I'm staff for that.
Okay,
I'll just put in parentheses, land use.
Yeah.
Use and plan development.
and you're pretty well tied into the workforce housing movement, right? Santos?
Yes, Jake Crane is the liaison with that. And I think we've got it's today. I think today the village is actually submitting grant proposals to try to secure funding for 3 potential housing projects. And then Monday, Workforce Housing Committee has one of the developers that's going to present one of their projects to them as well. So.
All right,
What about lodger's tax?
okay, yeah, so the other ones, tourism, economic development, and lodgers tax.
Do those go together?
I kind of feel like they do, but they don't have to.
What were you gonna say, Santos?
I think lodgers tax and tourism kind of roll together.
Yeah. That's kind of really not my deal.
No, I neither.
Correct.
And the chairs. I mean, the liaison
Now, do you think
chair.
maybe Alex might be a good person for that because of all his development experience in the area? I mean, if he's not present, we could always put him down. And ask him if that would be something he could help with. What do you say? No comments?
Oh, I mean,
Well, I think this is the point now, we're overwhelming ourselves with too much
I know.
coordination on this thing, so we have to be careful not to
I know.
overwhelm our own time limits.
Right. Okay, well, let's just shelve that for now. I, from the start, was hoping that we could recruit another member to the committee, honestly. So maybe we should talk about that a little bit.
That can happen.
Particularly someone with a more business background, it would be handy, I think.
If we know of a person, we can recommend it to, recommend that person to the mayor, and the mayor can make that appointment.
So everybody think about that.
Yeah, and also, I think the process, as we figure it out, it may be once a month, there's a. Half the committees come and do an update to us or vice versa. So there's.
Yeah.
I wanted to make everyone aware, in case you're not, that on the village website, you can sign up for being notified for committee meetings. So I would suggest if you've signed up for one of these
Oh,
subcommittees, that you go to the website and find out when they're meeting. And if convenient, you may be able to attend their meeting, or you would at least be able to look at their meeting minutes and see what they're up to. Okay, all right, next task,
So
we're,
we should define what, maybe not now, but we should define what our specific actions or roles are as a liaison to these committees.
well, just that.
Just reporting, monitoring, engaging.
Right. Think in terms of what, I mean, 08 was our guide, and they attacked certain issues within all these topics. So think about what you need to find out to be able to update that, and what they are proposing for actions within their committee, so that those can be incorporated into our plan. So basically, it'd be impossible for us to, I think it would be impossible for us to come to speed with every single thing, but if they're already doing it, you're just trying to bring that to this group,
That's kind of what Jackie's doing today,
right?
is acting as a liaison from the airport committee, and to just make sure that we are addressing that
Exactly.
and taking our information back to your committee, and that's kind of what you're asking members to do.
Right.
Of the committees, and I think that's a good thing.
I think that we are at such an advantage than the OA committee that put together the plan, because all of these concerned residents are already really focused on their topic and are doing a lot of the legwork already, which brings me to the next item, define tasks to complete the plan. Okay, so we've got the committee and our subcommittee. I'm gonna call them subcommittees for lack of a better word, but these are all.
So real quick, sorry, under tourism and economic development, Santos said he probably could do that. Right?
Yes,
Is that right, Santos? Tourism
Yes,
and
whatever
economic
else you need me to do, absolutely.
So with regard to that, would that be like getting with the chamber? I'm just trying to,
yes.
um,
There's someone that's been hired by the village named Greg, his last name.
Brown.
Right, so he is key to
Okay.
coordination on
Okay.
tourism.
right, do we not is there a committee or is this mostly a governmental office or basically?
Okay, so tourism is something that the village has taken on and has someone working for the village that's
That's
attacked. That's great.
Okay.
Okay. Reason I put economic development is there was an entire study done in 2019. And Santos, maybe you understand the origin of that more specifically, the 2019 study.
So that came for council for consideration to look at, how do we diversify the economic base at the village? And there was a consultant that was hired that did surveys and maybe some focus groups, and they prepared this report, and then COVID hit. So one of the items I noticed that I think actually came about from COVID is how do we attract more remote type workers? And I think there's an increase in that, not just because of the report, but because of the pandemic and how people styles and structures changed in the workforce. But there were some other recommendations on it that I think really just got smothered because of the pandemic. And if we're going to be having these conversations with tourism and public health, all those, and housing, all of those relate together. On an economic development level, how do we get businesses to set up shop when we don't have employees that can live here to run those shops? So it's all part of the same circle, and I think it needs to be a component of it. and whatever I can do to assist is helpful.
Okay, great. We've been notified. We've got like 1 minute to finish our agenda. The next-
Apologies, I've got to run. I've got to open another room here. So good to see everybody. Have a nice weekend. Hope to see you all at the member meeting tomorrow. So take care.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Define tasks to complete the plan. Obviously, we've got our committee, and our committee, our members are liaisons to other committees in town. And we've talked about having a consultant. Santos has offered to help with the revision of the actual plan. I'm questioning a little bit. I want everybody to think about the role of a consultant. When I reviewed this plan, I could see whole sections that looked like they were dropped in from other plans that this consultant had done. They name other cities, and they named another city. They talked about something in Canada. So I just don't know if we could keep it more local, if we could kind of create a plan that touches on all these people that have their focused input in our community. If in fact we could put together a revised plan. So,
Yeah, I would feel more comfortable with someone who's more familiar with us and have such a background knowledge that could build in more that.
That is our role. So if we secure a consultant first, I would never hire an engineering firm, no offense to engineering firms. I never hire an engineering firm to do that. I would hire there's 3 firms in Albuquerque. One of them is Jim Strolier's firm, which is pretty good. But it depends on the relationship between the consultant and the village. So if there was a less engaged steering committee for the plan in 2008, and the village staff was overwhelmed, the consultant was on their own. But if we are here and reviewing what the consultant's putting out, it wouldn't have the same grabbing from this plan and that plan. I can't stand cookie cutter plan that consultants do. But I think with the head start we have, and if the milestones deliverables, if we have an issues page for each committee that says, here is what we've been, here are our challenges, that helps the consultant or us figure out what the goals and objectives are based on that issues paper.
what do we know about funding available for the hiring of a consultant?
Yeah, so that there is funding through DFA, it's just a matter of someone pursuing that funding. And what the amount is, so it's kind of, we've got this background work, what do we want to accomplish with the consultant, you know? If we're in charge of community engagements, for example, working with all these committees and interchange and community survey, that makes the coordination role much less expensive. What kills comprehensive plans is the community engagement, doing the surveys, doing all that extra work, that jacks the price way up. But if we're that community part of that, that's gonna make it easier for us to, and a consultant coordinate. I think it also adds a level of professionalism to it, that it was, you know, an expert is someone who lives 50 miles away. So if this is getting adopted by council, I think having a consultant putting their, you know, their company on the line for it is also have some merits.
Yeah, I do worry about the cost, and I also worry about if we're gonna be the ones engaging and doing all the engagement and having these committee meetings, it's gonna be hard for a consultant to, for a consultant to incorporate everything.
Actually, it's easier.
It's easier.
Yeah, that's where I've worked with a lot of them the
Yeah.
past couple of years.
Yeah, okay. So I thought maybe they just wouldn't have the background knowledge.
Now, if it looks like we're tabling milestones and
I think we've run out of time.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when I set this time up, I didn't realize we
Yeah.
had a back control, so, we
so
will,
I'll quickly throw out that a deliverable and milestones. A deliverable is any unique or verifiable product, result, or capacity to perform a service. So a deliverable might be the RFP of your consultant. And then a milestone is a significant point or event in the project, such as a major deliverable being completed. So an issues paper from every committee would be a milestone. A community survey that is agreed upon by all the committees that has some, stuff would be a milestone. Those kind of things. So we all think about those because that helps us stay on track and avoid scope creep, which we want to avoid.
Yeah, significant point or event in the.
They're on that, cheat sheet there.
Okay, I apologize for not getting through it, but we got,
That's okay.
we had a big agenda today.
And I'll just say, these committees, there's usually a meeting or two going on every single day. And then I know Chuck and I try to go to as many of these things as we can, but we'd be going to meetings constantly.
I know.
Yeah.
It just cuts into your social.
We're not making.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
That's all.
No, thank you.
And seriously, Saturday, I'm back at the airport.
Okay.
Well, you guys are doing
I
good work
fully
here.
understand.
Well,